And good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this second day of September, and which is the second day of spring right here. Well, it's a beautiful day here in Brisbane today. It is beautiful, but it's a little bit cloudy, 17 degrees at the moment, getting up to the max of about 24 later in the day today. And hey, it's Friday, thank God. And there's so much happening in the weekend. The river fire, looking forward to that. Yesterday we saw the rehearsal, the helicopters flying very close to our office here and the studios. So it's all going to be happening this weekend. There's so much that's happening. As of course we know, this is the auspicious time of Ganesh Chaturthi as well. So there's lots of functions that have been organized. Make sure you keep up to date with Australian Indian Radio and Brisbane Indian Times. And this Friday we will get the EDM out, which is the What's Up in Brisbane. If you'd like to know that, please subscribe to our newsletter and be notified, be on the list of the notification. All you need to do is go to www.indiantimes.net.au and grab a look. You can just Google Brisbane Indian Times and you will find that. So you will be notified of anything that's happening in Brisbane. You don't want to miss out. Even if you don't go, you will be informed and you'll know what's happening, and then you can make an informed decision. Well, ladies and gentlemen, once again, welcome to this Friday. Well, it's 50 years since we switched from Fahrenheit to Celsius. Here's that report.
50 years ago, weather forecasts sounded very different.
Temperatures around the nation, Darwin should reach a high of 91, Brisbane 92.
But on the 1st of September 1972, that changed overnight, with the Bureau of Meteorology switching from Fahrenheit to Celsius.
Degrees Celsius is the modern name for degrees centigrade, and unlike Fahrenheit, it's based on the decimal system.
The Weather Bureau replaced thousands of thermometers and changed millions of records.
I spoke to a few colleagues yesterday and they said the same thing. Is it really 50 years?
Mike Bergen, who was training at the time, says it went smoothly.
I know rainfall wasn't quite as smooth and nor was wind, but temperature seems to have been relatively easy.
The public were helped to adjust with a series of jingles. The frosty 5s, temperate 20s, thirsty 30s, and so on. And in the years that followed, metrication took off.
Do you know how much you weigh?
Yeah, in pounds I do.
What about metric?
No, I don't know.
I can't visualise metres and centimetres.
The move to metric was largely supported, seen as the simpler option, used widely around the world. Today, only a handful of countries use the Fahrenheit scale. But look closely and you might notice in some areas of life, the old habits remain.
Can I get a pint, please?
Oh, no problem.
Tyne Logan, ABC News.
Of course, everyone's following the decimal system. The decimal means decimal, thus to the power of 10. That's a gift from India to the entire world. So decimal system replacing the pound, shilling and pence. Even that used to be 12. So it caused a lot of problems before and until the decimal or the decimal system was adopted worldwide. Well done. 50 years since it was introduced right here in Australia. Well, the death of the girl, waiting to happen. An inquest is still told that, the disaster was waiting to be happen.
In April 2020, when Aishwarya Ashwath died, Mark Olsen was the Secretary of the Australian Nursing Federation. Now he's told the Perth Coroner's Court in the weeks before her death he realised a dangerous situation was developing at Perth Children's Hospital.
When you read an email that says if there's a resus, we're left with 2 nurses for 40 to 60 patients. Let me say it again, 2 nurses looking after 40 to 60 patients. That tells you you've got an impending disaster.
Mr Olsen told the inquest management wasn't listening to the concerns of nurses. He arranged to meet the nurses on March 29. They didn't want to take industrial action, but decided to develop an action plan to put to government. 5 days later, Aishwarya died of sepsis. At one point, the hospital's lawyer queried the relevance of some of Mark Olsen's testimony. However, he was allowed to continue, with the Deputy Coroner saying it was clear from the evidence that staff were run off their feet, doing too many jobs, that the executives were aware of it and solutions had been offered. The problem was there weren't enough staff, according to the staff on the ground, Sarah Linton said. It seems to me to suggest there was a problem and a solution. It could be fixed. It raises issues of why did it take a death. Later, the inquest heard from hospital management, with a nurse coordinator testifying they were well aware of all the concerns. Susan Baker said the hospital tried to hire people, but recruitment was difficult at a time of an unprecedented increase in patient numbers. The final witness at the inquest was the current head of the hospital, Simon Wood. He told the inquest about changes implemented after Aishwarya's death, including modifying the layout of the ED and developing a sepsis program. Joanna Manar, ABC News.
Well, it is quite unfortunate that it's taken a death for the new systems to be put in place. And when, the alarm was raised earlier that, there would be the constraints and restraints on the number of nurses per the number of patients that were coming in at that time. I wouldn't like to be the head of the department or the head of the hospital there facing all those questions right at this moment. Well, of course, we know that through the pandemic, there has been increased demand for speech therapy. And many times people don't pay a lot of attention to the speech therapy, but, people like me who have to be on a show or something like that, it is very, very important that we understand how this can affect anyone. The clarity of the words, the pronunciation, the ability to pronounce some words, and making sure that the voice presence is there. It is quite a complex matter. Well, let's take a look at this report.
From an early age, Claudia noticed her son Felix was having trouble with his speech.
What's this one?
Garage.
Good job. What's this?
Soldier.
It was really hard watching him trying to communicate and not being understood.
But seeking treatment wasn't as easy as booking an appointment.
Not only was there a wait list, but the wait list wasn't even going to open until 2023.
Canberra has long had a shortage of speech pathologists, and demand for their services has only increased since the start of the pandemic.
It's been a bit of a perfect storm in that waiting times have actually increased exponentially over the past couple of years.
There are numbers of people who are trying every practice they can because everyone has a waiting list of at least 6 to 12 months.
Delays in accessing treatment can have long-term impacts.
Early intervention is definitely the key to preventing any lifelong difficulties.
The University of Canberra is now offering a speech pathology master's degree, training workers who will hopefully stay local.
The reason a program was started at UC was because the profession is aware that there's a critical shortage of speech pathologists, more significantly so in the ACT and the Northern Territory than in other states, but it is an Australia-wide issue.
Felix is now having therapy sessions at UC as part of an 8-week study.
I have faith in this program that when it comes to the end of it, we'll be given the tools to continue on and hopefully not need further intervention.
Felix is lucky his speech therapy sessions are already making a difference. But for many other Canberra children, they'll have to wait a little longer for this vital service. Lisa Glenday, ABC News.
And of course, that is a very vital service. As I mentioned before, it might not seem like something big, but when you look at being understood, even ordering some things, if you go through a drive-through and you have to speak in the speakerphone, and sometimes you order something, and when you go to the window, they've given you something else. So, it is very important, and we often don't realize the importance of the clarity of speech. And look, many people have different kinds of disabilities. The speech impairment, that is a disability in itself, but it is lesser recognized. So, it is very, very important. We all know that certain people have problems pronouncing certain words, but, looking at the overall situation and, of course, looking at the overall speech therapy in its own right. So, it is good to see that now help is available. I couldn't believe that the waiting list was not even going to open until 2023. Hope they make a little bit more progress, a little bit quicker.
Could you crack the code? The lays of secret messages on these new limited edition 50-cent coins might just inspire Australia's next generation of cyber spies.
Well, we won't tell you exactly what's on it, but it does have 4 different layers of encoding or encryption, each layer getting progressively more difficult, which we saw as a parallel to our history.
The Royal Australian Mint has produced 50,000 coded coins, marking the 75th anniversary of the Australian Signals Directorate. The usually secretive government agency says it hopes to engage more Australians in its work.
It's important for the Mint to be telling those stories, and I think it's a great part of Australia's history that it's worth, through a coin, making sure more Australians understand and the message gets out there.
And it could prove to be a novel public recruitment scheme.
We thought this was a really fun way to engage people in code breaking, with the hope that if they make it through all 4 levels of the encoding on the coin, that maybe they'll apply for a job at the Australian Signals Directorate.
The ASD says while the codes won't reveal Australia's deepest, darkest secrets, they could deliver something uplifting. Chantal Al-Khoury, ABC News.
Well, there you go. If you can break the code, the point is that how many people do use coins these days? Everything's been replaced with the plastic card. So, you can't even buy anything. Not many people carry cash these days. But, it's a good initiative, and good to see that 75 mark there, which reminds us of, India's independence as well, celebrating the 75 years under the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. So, in that sense, celebrating the Australian Signals Directory, the 75 years, it's wonderful to see that. So 75 years of that, and 50 years ago, we got rid of the Fahrenheit system and we went into the decimal system, or the decimal. Right now, let's go to New South Wales, where there is always some strike happening. We've seen the disruption to the transport with the Transport Workers Union. Now it's a 10 for the nurses.
Walking off the job for the 3rd time this year.
What do we want? Ratios! When do we want them? Now!
Nurses and midwives say they're fighting for their patients.
First and foremost, it's about community safety and getting more nurses on the floor.
The 24-hour strike defies orders from the Industrial Relations Commission.
This is obviously nurses saying we've had enough. We can't keep doing this.
The Nurses and Midwives Association is calling for improved nurse-to-patient ratios, and they also want better conditions and pay.
Hear us, heritage! Western Sydney, here to stay!
But the Premier is giving no indication he'll budge, despite ongoing discussions.
We've provided a 3% pay increase for this year, 3.5% next year, also a $3,000 payment on top of that. And we think that is incredibly fair and reasonable.
The government has also defended its decision to refuse to support a recommendation to give greater protections to doctors and patients by strengthening a health ombudsman following a state parliamentary inquiry into the regional health system.
In June's budget, the New South Wales government committed $4.5 billion to boost health worker numbers over 4 years. But those dealing with unsustainable workloads now say that won't address the immediate need for more staff.
I've had a shift where one nurse had 10 patients. It is physically impossible to care for that many people.
But what is possible and likely are more strikes.
We won't take it anymore!
Rani Hayman, ABC News, Sydney.
Once again, good to see Rani. Wonderful reporting as usual. Well, of course, the argument there is, do we increase the wages? Is that going to solve the problem? Or is the problem going to be solved by having more nurses? So having more nurses means, if the resources that are available, if that is spread across, that would, create a slightly different thing. Food for thought. So, are the more nurses needed or a pay rise? Well, right now, moving on. Let's go to South Australia, where South Australia government defends funding in Labor seats.
Byards Road wetlands in Adelaide's southern suburbs. Host of a weekly park run, and if the government has its way, a $250,000 toilet block. It was promised by Labor ahead of the March election, except the local council doesn't want it.
It would be up to our ratepayers to service that facility ongoing, plus the renewal costs down the road. And there is a public toilet in our community centre just 100 metres away.
It's one of 2 grants to fund election promises totalling just over $400,000 Onkaparinga Council has knocked back.
We did make candidates aware before the election that they were outside of our service levels, and we were just consistent with that before and post-election.
That doesn't mean that the project's not worthy, doesn't mean it's not justified. It's been tested through an election campaign and we support it.
In the budget, Labor handed out more than $84 million in grants to sporting clubs to pay for election pledges without assessment by the responsible government agency. All but 2 of these grants were in seats Labor won, giving rise to accusations of pork barrelling and potential conflicts of interest. Sporting clubs weren't the only winners. Labor allocated another $56 million for community infrastructure projects like bike paths and roundabouts. This reserve in the marginal seat of Elder is set to receive a $1 million upgrade. Analysis by ABC News of the 56 community projects funded to date shows all bar 3 are in Labor-held seats. Leon Bignell's once marginal electorate of Mawson comes out on top with nearly $8.5 million worth of projects funded. Just 1 Liberal seat gets cash, $770,000 for opposition leader David Spears' electorate. Experts in public accountability warn against awarding grants this way, without any open competitive process.
Some election commitment spending absolutely meets the definition of pork barrelling. It involves politicians choosing to fund specific projects in specific electorates for partisan purposes, so potentially for buying votes.
The Infrastructure Minister insists the scheme passes the pub test.
I'll tell you what doesn't pass the pub test: promising to do something, then not doing it because an unelected public servant says we don't want to do it. That doesn't pass the pub test.
Unelected officials may still have a role to play. Ombudsman Wayne Lyons has confirmed his office does have the authority to investigate government grant schemes. Rory McLaren, ABC News, Adelaide.
And of course, having the powers to investigate where the funds are allocated when it looks at parks and things like that. Once again, the election promises are made, but then when the hard line comes, it's time to deliver. And good on the citizens who follow up on that, follow up on the politicians to say, look, hey, this was your promise, time to deliver. So, it's just fair that, if you promised, you do deliver. Right now, let's go to Perth before we go to our Daily India report, where the wait times is a bit of a concern at the Children's Hospital.
With Perth Children's Hospital already in the spotlight, staff are warning the hospital is still in crisis. Text messages between doctors seen by the ABC show the strain. ED at crisis point tonight. If anyone can help out, I'm sure it would be appreciated. Last night was brutal. Wait times at PCH ballooned on Monday. The most critically ill children, resuscitation patients, should be seen immediately with no wait time. That blew out to a median of 8 minutes. Children triaged as an emergency were, however, seen on time, but it's the less severe patients where wait times really blow out. Urgent patients should be seen within half an hour. The median wait was 1 hour and 45 minutes. And semi-urgent patients should wait an hour at most. Their median wait time was almost 3.
We've put far more staff in and far more resources into the Perth Children's Hospital to deal with the demand. But all over Australia, every single hospital, every single health system is going through enormous demand.
Health Minister Amber Jade Sanderson issued a statement revisiting some common themes. The impacts of COVID continue to be felt, WA's hospitals are world-class, and the McGowan government's investing in new beds.
Our hospitals are well staffed. They are under pressure. It is winter. We do commit to public health systems. We are committing record spending. We have the safest system, I would say, in the country or in the world.
Meanwhile, August was the second highest month on record for total hours ambulances spent ramping in WA at 6,775 hours. James Carmody, ABC News.
Well, there you go. So those times are blowing out, and of course that does raise serious questions and concerns about the children coming in, and especially the ones who really need treatment straight away. So once again, my question is, would that situation be solved by a pay rise or by employing more nurses? Food for thought. Well, right now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to go to our daily India report.
Welcome to the Daily India Report that brings you reports, interviews, features and more on India and the Indian diaspora. In a bid to continue to diffuse tension, India and Chinese armies hold division commander level talk along the line of actual control. The Indian Army and the Chinese People's Liberation Army have once again held talks on the line of actual control. The talks were held at the division commander level. The meeting comes at a time when it is being claimed that the PLA is continuing construction activities along the LAC to further upgrade its military infrastructure and connectivity in the region. According to sources, an Indian Army and Chinese Army Division Commander level meeting was held on August 31st to discuss routine matters related to maintaining peace along the line of actuality in the Ladakh sector. Such meetings are held regularly after every 3 months at various levels to discuss the issues of maintaining peace and border management. During the talks, the Indian and Chinese sides under the leadership of their division commanders discussed issues related to peace in the Daulat Beg Oldi sector and other areas. Earlier, India and China held talks in the Chushul sector in the wake of recent airspace violations by the Chinese Air Force, where India warned China against any misadventure. $300 government vendors to take over sales as private liquor shops close in the Indian capital, New Delhi. Private liquor shops will close in the Indian national capital and will be replaced by over 300 Delhi government vends from September 1st. This is due to the switch over from the excise policy 2021-22 to the old regime. Nearly 250 private liquor vends licensed under now withdrawn excise policy 2021-22 are running currently in the city. Excise department officials said the liquor supply will improve from the first week of September due to the opening of more shops. With 50 more shops coming up, there would be more supply and the number of shops will increase further in the coming days as 500 shops are planned to be opened by 4 Delhi government undertakings. The Delhi government undertakings, DTTDC, DSSIDC, DSCSC and DCCWS has been given a target to open 700 liquor shops in the city by the end of 2022. India's gross domestic product in the first quarter of fiscal 2022-23 grew at a whopping 13.5%, the fastest ever in a year. The GDP of India for the April-June quarter of the current financial year grew by 13.5%. This is a result of favorable base effect and improved activities following the relaxation of COVID-19 pandemic-led restrictions outweighed the rippling effects of geopolitical and global concerns. A rebound in private consumption aided economic momentum in the first quarter as it witnessed a growth of nearly 26%. According to the provisional estimates by the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, in the first quarter of fiscal 2022-23, agriculture, forestry and fishing sectors rose 4.5%. The manufacturing sector grew 4.8% and the construction sector appreciated by 16.8%. The GDP segment of trade, hotels, transport, communication and services related to broadcasting logged growth of 25.7% in the current fiscal. The real GDP in Q1 of 2022-23 is estimated to attain a level of 36 lakh and 85,000 crore rupees as against 32 lakh and 46,000 crore rupees in Q1 of last fiscal at 2011-12 prices. India has warned of increase in terrorist organizations in Afghanistan at the United Nations Security Council meeting. India has warned the UNSC that there is a significant increase in the Islamic State Khorasan province presence in Afghanistan. It said that linkages between proscribed outfits such as Pakistan-based Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed and other terror groups pose a direct threat to the region's peace and stability. India's permanent representative to the UN Ambassador Ruchira Kamboj said, quote, "As we have repeatedly stated at the Security Council, India has direct stakes in ensuring the return of peace and stability. Given our position as a contiguous neighbor and long-standing partner of Afghanistan, as well as our strong historical and civilizational linkages to the Afghan people." End quote. Speaking at the UNSC briefing on Afghanistan, Ambassador Kamboj underlined that on terrorism, the recent findings of the 1988 Sanctions Committee's analytical support and the Sanctions Monitoring Team report indicate that the current authorities in Afghanistan need to take much stronger action to fulfill their anti-terrorism commitments. She said that there has been a significant increase in the presence of ISIL-K in the country and their capacity to carry out attacks. ISIL-K, with its base reportedly in Afghanistan, continues to issue threats of terrorist attacks on other countries. The Commonwealth Parliamentary Association has voted an Indian Member of Parliament to be its international treasurer. The CPA, the world's largest and oldest international parliamentary association, voted Anurag Sharma, a member of India's Lok Sabha from Jhansi, with a very thumping majority as its international treasurer. He will now be in the main executive council, and hence with his elevation, this will increase one more seat for India in the CPA, taking the Indian tally to 4 executive representatives now. Members of India's ruling Bharatiya Janata Party said that this marks a true recognition of the growing Indian economy and its global presence and reach, and in pursuit of the Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision of making India a global power to reckon with. The India MP is all set to assume charge of this global responsibility and add value to the global objectives of the CPA. Handling annual funding of millions of pounds and the trust funds ensuring its smooth and effective utilization, Anurag Sharma is all set to add that extra mile ROI and showcase the Indian effectiveness to this global responsibility. The CPA in particular has all relevant democratic nations as its members, and it certainly lifts India's prestige manifold to be standing as one of its office bearers and hosting our tricolour as another step to our objective of creating global footprints. A very large Indian delegation led by the Honourable Speaker Lok Sabha is attending the biannual Commonwealth Parliamentary Conference in Canada. 5 members of the Indian Parliament and speakers of most Indian legislatures are attending the conference as Team India. The Indian government has removed the cap on domestic airfare, but due to competition, airlines are likely to offer fare discounts. Starting August 31st, the Indian Civil Aviation Ministry has removed the cap on domestic airfare, which was imposed earlier, allowing the airlines freedom to decide their fares. During the price cap period, carriers were not allowed to charge a passenger less than 2,900 rupees excluding GST and more than 8,800 rupees excluding GST for domestic flights of less than 40 minutes. The lower caps were there to protect the financially weaker airlines and the upper caps to protect passengers from high fares. The Civil Aviation Ministry in an order stated, quote, after review of the current status of scheduled domestic operations vis-a-vis passenger demand for air travel, it has been decided to remove the fare bands notified from time to time regarding the air fares, end quote. The decision brings relief to airlines such as Indigo, SpiceJet Limited, Air India, Vistara and Akasa Air, allowing them to price tickets freely. The airlines may offer discounts on flight ticket prices to lure passengers at their own discretion. Defending Asia Cup cricket champions India have reached the Super 4 stage of the tournament by defeating Hong Kong in the second group match in Dubai. India defeat Hong Kong by 40 runs in their second Asia Cup match on August 31st, registering their second successive win in the continental tournament at the Dubai International Cricket Stadium. Asked to bat first, India scored 192 for 2 with veteran Virat Kohli, 59 not out, and Surya Kumar Yadav, 68 not out, being the team's main contributors. In reply, Hong Kong could only manage 152 for 5 in their allotted 20 overs as India entered the Super 4 stage of the tournament. Meanwhile, Virat Kohli equalled Rohit Sharma's tally of scores of 50 or more in T20s with his fine half-century in the match. The half-century, his second in the format in 2022, helped Kohli go level with Rohit Sharma for most scores of 50 or more in T20s. This was Kohli's 31st 50-plus score in the format. Rohit has 27 half-centuries and 400 in T20s. Bollywood stars Ranveer Singh and Kriti Sanon walk away with the Best Actors trophy at the 67th Filmfare Awards held in Mumbai, the city of Bollywood. The 67th Filmfare Awards for 2022 were held at the Geo World Centre in Mumbai on August 30th. The award ceremony saw the coming together of the entire Hindi film industry under a roof. Celebrities from Bollywood put their best fashion foot forward as they walked the red carpet of the Filmfare Award ceremony. Katrina Kaif looked gorgeous in a sari. Kiara Advani, Kriti Sanon and Rakul Preet Singh looked chic in their gowns, while Vicky Kaushal, Varun Dhawan, Arjun Kapoor and Ranveer Singh looked dapper in their crisp suits. The award show hosted by Ranveer Singh and Arjun Kapoor saw OTT-released films Mimi, Sardar Udham Singh and Sher Shah grab the maximum awards. Kriti Sanon's Mimi revolved around a small-town girl from Rajasthan state who gets offered 20 lakh rupees to act as a surrogate for an American couple. Sardar Udham Singh, helmed by Shujit Sarkar, was based on the story of revolutionary Udham Singh who avenged the massacre of Jallianwala Bagh by shooting Michael O'Dyer in London. Sher Shah, produced by Karan Johar, features Siddharth Malhotra and Kiara Advani in the lead roles. The film was centered around the life of Captain Vikram Batra, who fought till his last breath during the 1999 Kargil war with Pakistan. Among the notable winners, Ranveer Singh walked away with the Best Actor award for 83. Kriti Sanon won the Best Actress award for Mimi. Critics' Choice Award was won by Vicky Kaushal for Sardar Udham Singh and Vidya Balan for Sherni. Sher Shah won the Best Film, Best Music Album, Best Playback Singer Male and Female, Best Action and Best Editing awards. The Lifetime Achievement Award was given to veteran filmmaker Subhash Ghai for his unparalleled devotion to the film industry. Bollywood stars Akshay Kumar and Rakul Preet Singh groove to a new track from Katputli titled Rabba. Bollywood star Akshay Kumar dropped the new song for his upcoming film Katputli titled Rabba. Taken to Instagram, the Khiladi Kumar treated fans with a new song track. Sharing the video, he wrote, quote, "Play this song before he plays with your mind. Hashtag Rabba song from hashtag Katputli out now on @Z Music Company," end quote. In the video, the leading pair could be seen flaunting their sizzling chemistry while grooving to the dance number. Akshay is seen in a dapper avatar, dancing on fleek to his upbeat tune after a very long time. Rakul sets the stage on fire with the stunning moves in a red dress. The song has been sung by Dr. Zeus and Sukhvinder Singh, while the music has been given by Dr. Zeus. The peppy track lyrics are penned by Omar Malik. The song was directed by Ahmed Khan and choreographed by Prince. Helmed by Ranjit M. Tiwari, Katputli is a crime thriller that is all set to stream exclusively on Disney Plus Hotstar from September 2nd, 2022. That's all in today's bulletin.
And thank you very much for the Daily India report. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as I mentioned before, we're looking at the weekend right now, 17 degrees and cloudy. So let's take a look at what's going to be happening in the weekend. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as I said before, that this has been a special presentation today with the thank God it's Friday and coming on to the weekend. Hey, our next show will be on Monday. We are away this weekend, so there will be no show tomorrow. Apologies for that, but looking forward to having your company back on Monday. Until then, it's goodbye from us.